Hi, everyone. Welcome to a very special episode of Carson's Facts versus Feelings with Ryan and Sonu. This is episode 85. And you know what? Usually we come up with titles beforehand. We'll call this one talking about the future of Carson Group with Burt White. Welcome, Burt.
Welcome,
I
Burt.
can't even tell you how excited I am to be here. I mean,
Yeah.
really, I am really, really excited. Really excited.
Obviously, we're excited. You were recently, I guess a month ago today, they said you were
Yeah.
named CEO. I didn't realize that. So recently named CEO. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. We've had a little practice. Like for the last year, we've been kind of demoing this a little bit. So we've had most of the people report to me for last year.
You haven't wrecked the car yet, right?
Not
dinged it.
Not
dinged
really.
It,
I've dinged it. I have dinged it, but not wrecked it. But no, it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. So I'm Ryan, Chief Market Strategist, Global Macro Strategist, Sonu, and then Burt White, CEO, because compliance likes titles.
Oh my!
What was your old title? We still didn't get. What was the old
title?
title?
Is Chief Strategy Officer.
Yeah, I mean, you were doing that kind of, but you were doing CEO stuff.
Yeah, probably.
And you came over. You were going to. Just love.
I wanted his job.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Don't get him mad.
I wanted his job. I came here to do his job.
Have fun,
and work with me.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Well, you remember that? Like my first day, he wasn't around. It's like nowhere to be seen. I visited with you, and like you were like the first person I met. And yeah,
and you're still here. So
yeah, that is good news. And I wanted his job, and then I got soaked into something else, and I had to give him the good job.
And here we are.
Of course, I can't do his job, neither one of your jobs.
Well, and let's talk about where we are. Burt, where are we? We're in Omaha. Where are we? What's going on right now?
Yeah, well, we are at Partner Summit 2024. Twice a year, we get this amazing community of partners together. They come and ascend on the center of the universe, Omaha, Nebraska, and which is awesome. And so we are here celebrating their success, talking about all the amazing things that we're doing with them and for them. And it's just a wonderful opportunity to fellowship with the best advisors on the planet.
No doubt. I want to say, so we all were on main stage a couple hours ago. Burt, you killed it as always.
Yes.
We call it a fireside chat with Ron. What was that exactly?
Yeah.
You and Ron up there talking.
Yeah.
You and Ron talking. I mean, we got a ton of questions, but how has it been working with Ron the last 2 years?
Yeah.
Let's start with
well, so amazing.
Maybe
Ron,
explain who Ron is, just in case people don't know.
Yeah.
Assume some people don't know who we're talking about.
Yeah, so Ron Carson is the founder of Carson Group, did it out of his dorm room in someplace in Nebraska or something, like 40 years ago. And what Ron really is, if there was a trophy for Hall of Fame advisors, it would be named after Ron. I mean, Ron is the original Hall of Fame advisor. And what's so great about what Ron did is he set a legacy of giving back. With the coaching program, there's been 10,000 people that's gone through that's really got their fingerprints on, and learned all the tested in the trenches, all the books he's done. So really, he's got this amazing legacy. And so the opportunity to work with Ron every day, even as he's kind of stepped up to chairman and I'm in the CEO, we get together at least once a week, and have a dialogue. I check in with him a lot, and consider him a mentor, and I think vice versa. And so we've learned a lot from each other.
That's awesome. It shows when you were on stage the connection between both of you.
Yeah, he's a really great guy. I said this on stage, and I really mean it. There's a lesson for us all to learn here. Ron's the most joyful, happiest person I've ever met. There's no one that is loving his life more than Ron. Nobody. And what he does is he just has decided that I'm going to insulate my happiness. Right? I am going to end up doing just the things that bring me joy and impact to the world, and all the rest of the stuff I'm going to give to Burt and Ryan and Sonu, and we're going to have them to do the rest of it. But in all seriousness, he's isolated that, and I think there's something to be said there. Yeah, how do you find the things that you outsource to others, that you delegate, that you eliminate? There's so many things that we do that we don't need to do that doesn't bring us joy, and we can kind of give that. And so there's a lot there for Ron, but I've learned so many lessons, and it's just a ton of fun.
Just to pull on that thread, right? Delegating to others, because you were managing portfolios back in the day, and you were chief investment officer in your previous place, chief strategy officer. You came here to do Ryan's job. So you're managing portfolios. It's a very hands-on job, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes, we manage portfolios too. It's sometimes hard to say, you know what, I trust them. I'm just going to give it to them. At the end of the day, you're the one managing people's money. You don't want to lose their money, all of that, right? How has that transition been? to CEO now?
Easy but hard. I think what I'm most
spoken like a true politician.
Yeah,
Burt.
thank
I mean,
you.
everything kind of like,
exactly.
oh, we're moderately bullish.
Yeah, exactly.
Near term trouble, long term bullish.
Yeah.
You're right on jumping on the bike here. He was
I
nervous.
am. Well, hey, I'm learning how to be a CEO.
Good point there. Yeah.
But what I love is the fact that we've got an amazing team. And when you have an amazing team, it's easy to let them run.
Yeah.
And so we've got that. The other piece of it is the respect that I have for what you all do, because I was doing it. If you don't do it every day to the level that you dedicate yourself to, I think people don't recognize the amount of dedication that you have to be able to try to know as much as both of you and frankly all the people that are on the Carson research team and others. I get to read the daily update. Half the time it comes around midnight because you work all day but it's unbelievable. Really, you go home, you check on the kids and the family, and then you write this thing and send it out to everybody. That's a level of commitment, dedication. And I'll just tell you, you can't take that sort of time off and be away. You can't do it partially. And so when I realized that I couldn't do it fully, what I need to do is get out of the way and let the pros do it. And you all have elevated it to a place that's just spectacular.
Well, thank you, Burt. I mean, it's fun. I mean, we really feel like you work 7 days a week. I mean, Sona and I are talking all the time, but it's not like every day is a full day, but it's just fun. It really is. Like they say, find your freedom. Carson's all about find your freedom. I want to ask you, Burt, what that means to you. But to me, 2 years ago, when you started recruiting me about 2 years ago, and thank God I'm here. And find your freedom means I get to do podcasts with Sonu, get to work with one of the smartest investment teams out there, get to work with an amazing company that was led by Ron and now being led by you. And find your freedom means to me, we were just on stage dressed as George Washington over there, and I was Uncle Sam, and we spun it and made it entertaining, but also hopefully actionable and lively. And that's the stuff I want to do when I hear find my freedom. Now, what does that mean to you, Burt?
Yeah. Well, I love the stage that I'm at in my life. I'm at a point now in my mid 50s, and that now what I want to do is I want to have a really massive impact and watch a company lead an amazing legacy. This industry has been so amazing to me. I've been in it for 30 years. I've learned so much, and so many people have given to me so many gifts and lessons and blessings along the way. My barn is filled with all the gifts and blessings that I could ever imagine. And now what I'm excited about is how we can do that for everybody else. It's interesting. We rarely talk about the assets we have. We can all tell you to the number how many families we serve.
Yes.
And that is the type of culture that we have here. That's the impact. And to me, finding your freedom, is about that. Also fly fishing. Yeah, I would say finding your fleet's a little fly fishing too. So I have to get you two up to the mountain place and do a little fly fishing.
That's North Carolina, right?
Yeah, it's I'm right in the corner there. So I'm 17 miles from Tennessee, 1 mile from Virginia, and in North Carolina. And so right there in the corner. So
next time maybe we'll do this there.
Let's do a podcast on a tractor.
So just inviting ourselves.
Yeah, we could. Well, Ron came. Ron came out to the mountain place. Yeah, and I put him to work. Good. So we planted some chestnut trees along the pond there, and to see Ron operate a shovel was pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie.
Like, who was interviewing whom, right?
Exactly.
I have a story actually. So I didn't know. I knew Ryan, through Twitter. I mean, everybody knows Ryan through Twitter, but we'd followed each other and all of that. But when Burt first came on, for everyone listening, so he told me, like, I know this guy who I think you'll get along really well with. And I was like, okay, who is he? And it's like Ryan Dietrich. I was like, oh, well, the guy on TV all the time. And you never know how someone is, right? Yeah. But you saw something, and obviously here we are, 85 episodes, right? Hopefully there'll be another 100 or 200 more, if not even more than that. I wanted to ask you, what's your philosophy of hiring? But even nailing that down to, like, even both of us, what do you see? Like, I think both these guys will work well together. Yeah. I'm curious how you thought about that.
It's interesting. there's two things. I'm so glad you asked that. And I'm going to talk about you two in a second because, it was so evident to me that you two would be an amazing combination. But,
thank you for that.
For me, when you look at really talented people, it's hard to judge, just how good of an attorney is this when I'm looking for a chief legal officer, or exactly how good is this person at HR at the last role. That's hard. It's all about intangibles for me. Okay. It is all about empathy and kindness and care for clients and care for each other and all that kind of things. And that to me is what I look for, passion, all those type of things. And those are easy ways to discover them when you spend time with them. And I'll tell you, what Ryan, when I first met Ryan, you could talk to him on the phone, ask him questions, what he thinks of the market and all that stuff. That didn't matter. What mattered is he and I went to a place in Fort Mill. He brought his wife and we sat there and had a fun time and laughed and talked about life. And I got to know his passion. I got to know, what a family man he is. I got to know his heart. I got to know how much he loves advisors and how to help them and grow them. And when you begin to see someone that way, that's the attraction. Last thing I'll just say on this before I get to you two. Lions attract lions. And lions don't work with hyenas. They just don't. And I'm just a big believer that when you can set up an environment of A-level people, other A-level people want to join them. Yeah. And that's what happens. And you two are great. So for you two are the best combination of smarts that I've ever said. Like if you two somehow came together, which you did, but I'm saying if you were one person, I do believe that you would end up being
we'd be the CEO. We'd push you out of the way. We'd push you out of the way.
There you go.
You would be the CEO. You did push me out of the way.
That's true. I mean, you did both our jobs anyways.
But I just really, you two, just the kindness that you guys have. I knew the thing that people miss about both of you, because you're both personalities. What's amazing is humility, total humility. You're both super humble, and it's hard to think of him as humble.
I know. Ask my wife this. Ask my wife if she thinks I'm humble.
Like it's easy to see that you're humble, right? But it's hard to say. Humble guy. I mean, humble guy. Yes. And the joy of this, like you both can geek out on this in a way. And I just knew you would tickle each other, and it's been fun to watch.
Well, thank you. I've said you've said before, like superpower is adaptability, right, of the future. And you've got many superpowers. Totally. I've always been impressed, Burt, with your idea. I say you see the chessboard before the moves happen. Whether it be you saw Sonu and I working together, or you saw working with Ron and Carson, the future that we're going to change this industry and help people and help advisors and just how it's going to happen. Have you always had that ability to kind of see the chessboard, or you just lucked into it, or you just? I've always been fascinated by that because I think that's. I mean, you've got a lot of strengths, but I think that's right up there for you. That makes you different, makes you a better CEO than the next one because you see things happening before they happen. And maybe you're not always right, but for the most part, you just know what's going to happen before we do.
Well, I don't know about that.
I built you up. Let's hear your record.
Well, but thank you for that. But one of the things, Ryan, is that one of the things that we're lucky about in the job that we're in is that we get to see things from a really interesting perspective. Like having been in neither as good as either one of you are at your jobs, but in the roles that you are in, you begin to see things in real life. You talked about productivity today. Right. Okay. So productivity is a big part of what we're doing here at Carson. Yes. And so the studying of productivity from the level of that market allowed me to see the perspective from an industry level, from a company level, from a macro level, from, and then when you begin to take that and then merge that in with kind of product views and others, you really begin to be able to put the pieces together. And the last thing I'd say on this is, I've never been super excited about statement of cash flows and dissecting earnings and all that kind of stuff, right? For me, it was always the life part of investing. Okay, that's what I really loved. I love the life part of investing, which is what I love about you too, because you're very similar to that, right? What you really love is like how these markets impact real families, how they impact our, the folks that are out there living their lives every day, and when you begin to sort of have that perspective, I think you begin to see the world a little differently. And I do think that a lot of folks get into basis points and dollars of EBITDA and other things. And when that becomes your view of investing, which is, I guess, fine, I do think you can miss the forest for the trees, and it's hard to connect the dots. And it's something I've always tried to do.
I just met somebody, as I was prepping for this, and she walks up to me like, it's the first time I met her, the Carson stakeholder, Patty. And she tells me that, congrats, great job today, all of that. Love watching you guys up on stage. They say, I'm going to retire in 2 years, and you guys are managing my money. Don't lose it. But that hits home.
It hits home.
That hits home, right? It's not about, what's CPI going to do? What's the payroll report going to do? It's about a retirement at the end of the day.
So I do have to jump in. When Soto and I do anything live, we like to get milkshakes. Take a wild guess what Dave's about to bring us. We're gonna drink some milkshakes while we do this, Burt. Have you ever done a podcast? Is this true? Have I ever lied to you, Burt? Here we go.
Are you kidding?
How about this? This is the best podcast. This is live. This is what happens when we're live.
What?
Here we go. Here we go.
Now, where did we get?
I don't know. Where'd they come from, Dave? Where is this? Insomnia. Oh, so it's so it's actually like ice cream. Okay.
Wow.
Okay, we tried for milkshakes, but okay. Well, thank you, Dave.
Well,
there we go.
it's,
hey, you know what?
Just wait for a little bit.
This is how we do it. So this is probably about the midway point. Let me do a little promo while you guys open that. And Burt, I want to hear you also talk about Excel for a second here, but go ahead. We know you have a lot of options when it comes to fall conferences, but you won't want to miss Excel. We're in Orlando, September 9th through 11th. We're bringing all of the biggest and brightest Carson stars to the stage. We're going to, Sona and I will even record a live version, not too unsimilar to this.
Yes.
I don't know if it'd be a bigger guest than you or not. I guess we'll see. We'll see. But
it's going to be bigger.
It'll be bigger.
It will be bigger.
And that's excelconference.com, EXCELL, excelconference.com, all one word. Burt, why should, we know Carson partners want to come and stakeholders, why should someone in this industry who's looking at the fun and the impact and the difference we're making come to Orlando to learn more about Carson and to learn about our industry? Why should they be there?
Yeah, well, I think a couple things.
And there will be ice cream. Maybe that's why.
There will be ice cream.
Milkshakes.
You know, I'll just say a couple things. The legacy of Excel was all about learning, all about growth and growth learning. And Excel is a Carson conference, but it really is a community conference. And I would argue that most of the people that go to Excel, or not Excel, to other conferences, I think oftentimes have an agenda for the reason why they go. I want to visit with someone, I want someone wears. This is a place that the agenda should be to truly better yourself. What we'll have on the stage is pragmatic ways to grow, pragmatic ways to think about your business, in all elements of it. And so that in and of itself is great. The second thing is you get a chance to see, I think, the real strength of this place. Ryan, you and I came from, another place and great firm. But at the end of the day, when I was visiting here and I heard about how amazing the community was, you sort of roll your eyes. You're like, they're kind of all great. And until you're here, you don't know. You just can't understand it. Come see it. Come see.
And I do want to jump in. Sonu, sorry, because you reminded me of something. When you and I were talking about this, you were talking about the difference like an RIA and a big institutional place. You said to me, Ryan, you'll fit better in RIA, and I totally agree. But you did a podcast with Larry Sprung, and you talked about why an RIA is just so much better for a lot of people. I love that conversation. Talk a little bit more about RIAs and why that's somewhere people should strongly consider going
to. That's an
to.
independent advisor, right?
Yeah. I mean, when you begin to move towards an RIA, a couple of things. Number one is the embedded piece of the organization ends up being advice. So everything surrounds that component of advice. And, having worked at big companies, advice is a component. But shareholder value is probably the biggest value, component. When you begin to start, replacing shareholder value, subbing in for some of the other components that you want to try to drive. That's one. I think another piece on this is the element of small business. Small business is the centerpiece of this country. It's entrepreneurs are 9% of the population and 35% of the wealth and 75-80% of jobs. And so the reality is that small business is lifeblood. And when you begin to see the way these small business owners surround in a service, it completely transforms the way you think about financial advice. And so anyway, I really love the model that this is. It is one that really puts clients first. And like we talked about before, the only metric that matters is the number of families that we serve.
Which is what, approximately?
Yeah.
What is it?
Just above 50,000.
50,000. So again, this is episode 85 of Carson's Facts versus Feelings, talking about the future of Carson Group with Burt White.
Let's talk about clients. Speaking of clients and how much they matter, ultimately, that's what it's about. Advice for clients. I saw a phrase on stage this morning, peak service.
Yeah.
Right. And talk about that.
Yeah. What's interesting? Service has evolved. In my mind, service has evolved. If you go back, there's multiple levels of service. If you go way back when, let's say you're in the desert and all you really, you're thirsty as heck. You're not actually, all you care about is the access of water. You're not going to be like, wait a minute, this isn't Fiji water, so I'm going to pass it up. You just don't care, right? So the first level of service is access, right? And there was a time in this country where it was hard to get, this. I'm not picky right now. I'll take any brand of ice cream, right?
Ice cream. It's a little melted, a little hot in the back, but you know what? We've got ice cream.
Yeah. But okay, if I have a choice, which is the second level, I probably might not choose this. I might choose
Insomnia Cookies. It is a cookie company.
Right.
We have ice cream from a cookie company.
That's right.
Maybe we should have cookies.
Yeah,
probably. It's all right. It's all right. Yeah.
But no offense. But I might choose Ben and Jerry's or something, right? That might be the second level's choice. The third level is where everything else is, which is service. And a lot of service is very reactive. It is, you call me, I call you back. You call me, I pick up the phone quickly. It's a very sort of transactional view. And that really was that next level. But what we're moving to, and what I really think of peak service, is that the new great service is convenience. It is anticipating your needs with the use of AI and data. It is thinking about always on 24 hours a day. It's personalization where, population one, all I care about is, that this thing speaks to me and my family and understands it. And all of those that surround that. And I think that's the next level of service. And there are a lot of companies that do it well. I mean, like Starbucks is doing it well. A lot of tech companies. And in our space, it really is a little foreign. And so what we want to be known for, and over the next 2 years, we're on this journey. We call it peak service. Peak is a callback to the old coaching. Carson Coaching used to be called Peak. And it's a callback to that. But we call it peak service. And what it really is we want to be known as the premier proactive service company in all the wealth management industry. And the hiring of Danny Fava, who just unbelievable mind, and Heather Carter and others are really bringing this very forward-thinking, tech-driven, data-driven, insights-driven, AI-driven component to our business, and putting that with our care model, that combination is going to be peak service, and it will revolutionize what we do for advisors.
That's very exciting.
Well, it is. What's also exciting, maybe not. We've got about 15 minutes. Is that exciting or not, Burt?
I've been sweating this whole entire time. I
got you some ice cream.
Yeah.
Well, let's get a little more. Let's get a little more comfortable then. Let's do just vaguely, just a little bit. If I'm an advisor looking at Carson and I see there's this new CEO, Ron Carson, I want you to explain he was elevated, not stepped down.
That's right.
We were going to push against that. But why would someone come in if there's two leaders at the top? Can you even work together? Yeah. Can you not? I mean, let's talk about that, because I think this is something a lot of people outside of Carson's ecosystem are probably wondering.
Yeah, what's really interesting, and there's a tie into this that's actually one step. It's a learning for me that I'll connect, but you have to remind me. But when you think about Ron is truly stepping up to chairman.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I can't tell you the number of people that have come to me and said, what's it like trying to fill Ron's shoes?
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
And what I've said is, Ron still has his shoes on.
I
Okay,
saw him. I
Ron-
saw him today. He was wearing
Exactly.
shoes
He's
today.
wearing
I mean,
shoes.
Yeah.
And he is still running hard, helping to pull this
Right.
company forward.
Mhm.
But he's just doing it from a slightly different seat. Okay. And so, but he still has his shoes on. And now I bring my shoes. Okay. So now we have 2 pairs of shoes that are now pulling the company. And Ron and I are really similar in the way that we look at the world. He's much more of a maverick and a trailblazer and a visionary, but we're both relatively strategic. We're storytellers. We're big picture people. I'm a little bit more rooted in discipline and strategy, and he's a little bit more rooted in moving fast.
Mhm.
So what happens
Okay.
is we actually pull each other. Ron wants to move fast.
Yeah.
I slow him down to think strategy. I am moving a little slow or being deliberate. Ron's like, let's strike with a lighter side.
Yeah.
And so what happens is we end up to have this really great performance tension.
Mm.
And that's a good thing. We up on stage, we talked about how we think one of the greatest parts of our relationship is our tension.
Mhm.
And because that tension actually is what creates diamonds. That tension is what creates strength, and all that together. So I will say, I just think that combination is just really potent.
And I mean, I've said before, we're not always going to be right. We're not always going to be wrong on the
Yeah.
Carson Investment Research team. We are going to be honest. When you and I were talking 2 years ago, I was somewhat worried. Will Burt and Ron get along? I mean,
Yeah.
Ron is on the, the
He's on a t-shirt.
He's on our
That's
t-shirts
right.
everywhere, and you're a big personality. Will that fit? And I'm just saying from where I'm sitting and what we're seeing 2 years later, I think you guys have found a very, very good place where you seem to. I mean, who knows? Maybe behind a closed door, you argue once in a while.
Yeah.
Maybe that's normal. But I mean, you guys really seem to have found a place that's going to help this company,
Yeah.
help our partners, and continue to help the industry.
Totally. Yes. And we've earned that right.
Yeah.
Like we've earned that right together. Ron and I have a view of, truth given, truth received.
Yeah.
It is of radical candor. I don't hold back to Ron. Ron doesn't hold back to me.
Yeah.
And we have no undiscussables. That's just our rule. No
Right.
undiscussable. And so what's cool about that is then that frees us up. We don't ever have to think about like, oh gosh, how Ron's going to take this. How's Burt going to take this?
Yeah.
We both realize the commitment that we have here. Like we are so committed, both of us. All we really care about is getting the right answer. And so what happens is we bring those 2 things together, and we've earned the right to be able to do that. The other thing is that, early on, yeah, it's hard. I mean, you have
Sure.
someone that has been running a company for 40 years.
With
Okay.
his name all over
All
the
over.
place.
So imagine that, right? Like you've been driving a car for 40 years and your 16-year-old finally has the opportunity to get a hold of the steering wheel.
I don't know.
The whole time you're grabbing the steering wheel a little bit. So we had a little bit of that. I'd slap him off the steering wheel. He'd grab it. We had a few of those. But those are good things, right? Those are good things because he's driven this car before. I haven't. I've never been a CEO. He has. And so I'm learning a lot from that. We practiced, you guys know this, the outside world doesn't really know this. When you say that I became CEO, we've been practicing for a year.
It was a joke like, Burt, when are you going to be the CEO? Because you were
exactly.
doing it. Yeah.
So Ron and I called it that he was the outside CEO for like the outside world, and I was the inside CEO. And so we had a chance to practice this. So it took the pressure off the organization, took the pressure off of us, allowed us to make sure that we really found a really great groove together. And when you're bound in respect, okay, like when respect and commitment are the 2 things that bind you together, then you're going to end up to be in a spot that really is a good place to be. So I view him as just a really amazing person, and we're working great together.
Awesome.
I think the first meeting you were in with the investment research team, I still have a sticky note where the 3 qualities you look for: humility, curiosity, and respect.
Yeah,
So
totally.
I still have it stuck on my monitor at home.
Well, those, yeah. Oh, really? That's awesome, dude. Like, but it is like
he's just kissing up to you. I don't believe it's not on. I don't believe for a second it's not on his computer. I don't believe it.
First of all, a sticky note doesn't even last 2 years.
I know.
It already falls.
I wore that fake goatee today when I dressed up as Uncle Sam. It was falling off like 30 seconds later. So you can't tell me the sticky note.
I think that's a lie.
It gets up to the CEO. So
I'll take it.
I'll send you a picture.
I will take it. But yeah, I mean, if you and then you sprinkle in a little authenticity, and you might have the magic four. Humility is just, I already said that that's one of the bonds for you two, the respect that you guys have. I completely agree. Yeah.
We've only got probably time for one or two more. One of my favorite, just standard questions, mistakes. Now we only have 10 minutes, so please, just remember that. I mean, you've led different teams, you've led different companies, parts of companies. Now you're leading a company. What are some mistakes you've made that you learned from that probably could help? We have a lot of financial advisors listening to this, and again, thank you to everyone who listens. Episode 85. You believe that, son? 85. I mean, it's amazing, man. Wow. It is amazing. And we're hitting record number of downloads and listens, YouTube channel, all that stuff. Thank you to all those listeners. But Burt, a couple lessons or two from mistakes you've made that can maybe save someone a big headache.
Yeah,
from this. And again, we don't have all day. So
yeah, I've made a lot. Oh my God, I made a lot. I would offer a couple things. I think one of them is, there's a real desire for perfection. We all want to be really great. We hate making a mistake. We hate that. There's a great story that Adam Grant tells. It's great sociological philosopher. I don't know what he does. But
smart guy.
Yeah. But he wrote, he had a book called Hidden Potential. And I just finished reading it, and it was really great. He tells a story in there about being a diver. And he said that he became so obsessed with getting this dive so perfect that he actually became the most amazing diver of a dive that was easy to do and only had a maximum of 7 points. Okay. And he didn't, because he was so tied into trying to be perfect, that he didn't stretch the harder things and grow. And so one of the things we talked about today was about potential. And I think we have our known potential, right? And we try to fulfill as much of that as possible. And then we have our stretch, and that's our kind of hidden potential. And I think a lot of times we so want to fill our known potential that what we miss is that we're so focused on that we miss the opportunity to actually take the risks and the adaptability and other things to actually stretch to our hidden potential. And that's how you get further up. So I would just say, it's okay. Give yourself grace. Give yourself the ability to lean into discomfort, because really the reality is that the opposite of greatness is not failing. The opposite of greatness is average and mediocrity and not trying. And I think that if we could actually lean into that, so that might be the biggest lesson. I think that sometimes I will be overly careful, and sometimes I will try to be perfect with something. And, all the elements around that one rule, I'm trying to do the best I can.
You said, Sonu, I'll come to you in a second. Don't miss an opportunity. I want to thank Chelsea, our producer here. Someone might think, look at this. Was this live streaming on Twitter, LinkedIn? Are we on YouTube or not? We're on YouTube. Okay, YouTube too. We've got 3 mics. I mean, there's one person doing all this. Like, we've got the easy job. One person is running all this.
She's got like 9 headphones.
In the past, we had
now.
Sam. And I said, Sam coming. Not that I didn't trust you couldn't do it. So, no, I got it. And so anyway, so thank you, Chelsea, our producer, who's
look at like all 7 monitors and headphones, cameras.
We didn't get her ice cream.
And she's a writer too, by the way. She's got this great book which my kids love called Race Like a Girl.
So good.
I recommend that.
So good.
Yeah. Well, Sonu, one more from you, then one more from me, and thank you, Chelsea. Yep.
How many Pearl Jam concerts have you been to?
We go.
Well,
and how many more are you going to
that's
in the
the
next
real
3
question.
months?
So that's the real question. So I've been to 21, and that includes just seeing Eddie Vedder. Okay, so I'm including Eddie Vedder with Pearl Jam. Big fan. My wife has seen more, but we're huge fans. We're going to see both shows at Wrigley.
I'll be there for one of them.
I
don't think I'll do 2, but one of them for
definitely
sure.
doing that, and then doing both of them at Fenway in Boston.
Wow.
Seeing them outside. First of all, seeing Pearl Jam. If you have not seen Pearl Jam, you need to go see Pearl Jam. But it is amazing, and seeing them in those arenas.
Outdoor,
is just so good.
Wrigley is
at
great.
night. Oh,
I've never seen Pearl Jam, by the way, so I'm looking forward to it.
it will blow you away.
What's your favorite song? I mean, is it even possible to have one? I mean,
There's a lot. Of the ones that are most popular.
Mhm.
I would say Corduroy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Or Black.
Yeah, I like Black.
I would say of those that maybe are off the beaten track, I like Nothing Man. I like Rats.
Mm-hmm.
I love Rats. I love Smile.
Mhm.
I think it's great bass track and Smile. So yeah, there's a bunch.
I can tell you're starting to smile. This is the most he's
Yeah, I know.
45 minutes.
Well, you finally asked me a question. Yeah.
Find your freedom.
Finally have a
find your
question
joy.
that I can
Find your
answer.
freedom.
Yeah.
Find yourself at a Pearl Jam.
Yeah,
concert.
so
Exactly.
exactly. So again, this was episode 85 of Carson's Facts versus Feelings, talking about the future of Carson Group with Burt White. Burt, I guess the final question. I want to thank you. I mean, I know you're busy. You're busy.
Yeah.
So thank you for taking 45 minutes or so
Thanks
to
for having
talk to us and all the listeners. I want to finish with this one because we've kind of hit on this, but I want you to wrap it up like only you can. If there's a financial advisor out there listening to this and they say, Carson's interesting, why should they strongly consider coming over and learning more about us, if not just outright joining us?
Yeah.
Why should someone come to Carson?
Well, I'd say
Last question.
Yeah.
Last question.
a few
Make it
things.
good.
So I'm going to milk it.
Yeah, milk it.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm gonna
There
milk
you
it.
go.
No, I'd say a couple things. Number one is a lot of places will say that they are a firm that was built for advisors by advisors.
Mhm.
Name them. Ron Carson built this place. This is the legacy. On the 6th floor is Ron's legacy business. That's one. Two, we have successfully done 2 successions. The first succession was to take Ron's clients and move those into the Carson Wealth Omaha. And so we've actually created that legacy. And then Ron moved in to run the bigger company. Now we've done a second legacy and a second succession where Ron has now gone from, running the day-to-day to not running the day-to-day anymore. And that is going to be one of the biggest things that you're going to have to do as a wealth manager going forward. Is not only to think about where you are and where you're going to be, but what the legacy of your firm is. Things like succession, things like G2. And not only are we good at it, we have done it, which I think is super impressive. And I think the last thing is what separates this company is the fact that we have really said that what is our, blue button better than your blue button? I don't know. We are going to have the best experts in the business. We are going to have the Aaron Woods in planning. We are going to end up having the Jessica Golsons and the Ryan Dietrichs and the Grants and the Sonus and the Barrys and all the people in investment. We're going to have the Danny Favas and the Heather Carters and the Sam Allens and the Mina Burns and others. Because if we can have those experts, what we can do is we can help advisors be able, regardless of where they are on their journey, be able to find their freedom and, most importantly, insulate their happiness. They can love their business again. They can love doing this again. Too many advisors are in this now, and they just don't love it the way they used to.
We do the recruiting thing that comes up all the time.
Isn't that crazy?
They just don't love it the way they did 10 years ago.
And you know what? Last thing on this, Ryan, I told you I was going to milk it, and I really am. Yeah. I've said this quite a bit lately, and I believe it wholeheartedly. If you don't love what you lead, you will do it poorly. If you don't love sitting in front of microphones and researching markets, you won't do it well. If you don't love your business, you won't live up to the potential. And so what you need to do is find a way to love it. And if you don't love it, we have a magic elixir to help you love your business again. That's what we do. We help you love your business again. And so give us a call, check carsongroup.com or come to Excel. All those are great ways for us to show you how you can really, truly love your business again.
No, that was great, Burt.
Thank
and
you.
I will say this. It's fun, too. I mean, literally, people are smiling. People are happy. I mean, yes, we're in this to help their clients and people will make some money along the way. We get all that and grow your career, but it's also fun. It's a fun group of people that at this perfect time with Burt's leadership and Ron leadership, I think, for us to do with the S curve of growth, we call it. There's just so much potential here at Carson. Chelsea, one more question. Next week's episode 86, who is that one? Is that going to be live or is it? Normal. Okay, good. So next week we'll be back with a normal one.
back.
Then we've got a special one with Dr. Jeremy Siegel coming up soon on the Facts versus Feelings podcast. You're gonna love that. But Burt, episode 85 is in the books.
Love it.
We
Thank
made
you.
it.
Thank
We
you,
did
my
it.
friend.
We did it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you to all the
Really.
listeners. And again, this is live stream. So if you're out there listening to us live, we hope you enjoyed this. And then again, we'll be back next week with a regular podcast with just Sonu and I. Take care, everyone. Thank you.